Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the Three Falls Podcast. I'm Derek, joined as always by the Professor, Matt Pepper. Matt, 1999 and WWF is having a themed restaurant. Name a menu item and go.
HBK Sourpuss.
He was with the Rockers in 1990.
I thought you said 1999.
No, 1990.
Oh, 1990.
Yes.
Demolition Chicken Wings. Oh.
Delicious chicken wings. How about Bossman Cobb County salad?
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, Brutus Beefcake.
What would that be? Would that be like a dessert, or would that be like just like
Oh, like a meat pie
patty
or
of beef?
I don't know.
Remind me never come to eat at your house.
We had Sloppy Joes, I remember.
What's that? Yeah, I remember that back in the.
There's photo evidence of that. I don't know if we want to revisit that.
No. Anyway, you were talking about revisiting. If you haven't, or if you did, you should check out last week's episode with Steve Sorensen, where we talked about refereeing, the psychology of it. He had lots of good information. And it's really, if you ever thought of becoming a referee, or in fact, like a manager or even a wrestler, it's something really good to go back and watch or listen to on the podcast, because he really talks about, like, it's almost like common sense, right? Like he took like being a referee in hockey and being a referee in wrestling and kind of, centralized it.
Yeah. It's funny because the referees typically are almost an afterthought with fans.
Yeah.
They're just there. And I can tell you there's different philosophies even in production with referees. Because I can remember being told the referee's not a part of the story. But to me, the referee's always part of the story.
I would say he's one of the most interesting part of the stories, because
Yes.
a referee who's going to count three. The referee who's going to actually start the match.
Yeah. And it's you want them to be in the background. You want them to be there to enforce the rules and make the counts. But there's so much that goes into that. And if they're not that authoritative figure, what's the point of having a referee?
This week was Steve Sorensen's birthday. That's the whole reason why I mentioned him. So I just want to say happy birthday to Steve Sorensen. Pepper's going to sing happy birthday to you right now. Go, Pepper, take it away.
I don't think he's going to do that. This mic's sensitive enough. I don't need to have to get a new headset because I sang happy birthday. But I think Derek will do like a dance, happy birthday dance, Marilyn Monroe style on the video portion for Steve Sorensen.
Well, that's for Steve's eyes only. Anyway,
you could check us out. We don't have.
You could check the podcast out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you get your podcast from. You can follow us, friend us, whatever you want to do to us. Well, maybe not that far. But check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Three Falls Podcast. The show is already off to a great start.
Oh, man.
So speaking of great starts, New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced that they are coming back June 15th. That's this Monday, with their card entitled Together Project Special, which is going to be like a New Year's Dash, where you don't know the card until the night of. And then the next day they are going to start the New Japan Cup, with the finals taking place on July 11th. And the winner on July 12th will take on Naito for the IWGP Championship. Now, what is so special about this is on the 11th and the 12th, they're actually going to be allowing fans into the building, which is the first time since, I believe, February or March, that
Yeah.
we're going to actually have a live audience for professional wrestling. So this is pretty monumental as it comes to live events in general, because I don't think there's going to be anything else planned, even in the United States before then, that will have fans in attendance. So they're taking really strict precautions with this and measurements. It's going to be interesting to see. Matt, do you see WWE or AEW, Impact, ROH, anything following soon?
I think it depends on where these companies run shows, because I suspect because the U.S. is opening up a lot of stuff now. Some states more than others. So my gut instinct would be, I think Triple H talked about NXT having fans soon. Probably that Florida or Georgia, those states, I imagine will probably be some of the first to have live events. So I could definitely see, you know, at WWE or AEW doing it. I don't think they'll do it before Japan, though, by the sounds of it. I have a hard time believing that would happen. It is an interesting thing with the testing and everything of the sort. It's a kind of a weird dichotomy when you think about wrestling, because obviously when two people are wrestling, you're sweating, saliva could go flying. You probably don't want to have blood, although we have seen that in some matches. But it is a weird thing. They can't exactly wear face masks while they're working. So it's a very strange dichotomy. And then when you think about it too, they're developing these antibody tests for people that could carry the virus. So I don't know if any companies are looking that far ahead yet, but I think that's something to probably watch for. Because just because you don't have a fever or any symptoms, there's the possibility you could be carrying as well. So, and with wrestling, you have close contact with your opponent and the people that you're in the ring with.
That's why I always get like it drives me crazy, because at first it was funny, but I've seen it multiple times in different companies where you'll have, like, AEW actually did it recently with the best friends, where they go to do the hugging spot, but they, so we can't touch, we can't hug, social distancing, and they like touch
Yeah.
elbows or something like that. I get it, but like you're wrestling other people and you're sweating on other people, spitting, and then you don't want to. You're even tag teaming with your buddy, but
Yeah.
you can't do anything like hug or like, you know what I mean? I just think it's such a stupid spot.
So, I mean, that brings up a good point. Like,
I
pretty
always
well.
bring up good points.
Anyway, the point I was going to ask you about is, so a lot of companies obviously shut down because they were of the fear of spreading COVID-19. How do you feel about wrestling continuing with this?
Wrestling is the cockroach of the entertainment industry. Nothing will destroy it. Wrestling's going to continue after the human race is wiped off the planet. We're still going to somehow have wrestling going on, whether it be with animals or holograms or Cyborg AJ Styles versus Cyborg Undertaker in
Yeah,
a
it'll
casket
yeah,
match, gauntlet, whatever,
it'll
graveyard match.
start yeah, it'll start all over again right from the start of the Alien Luthez against Alien Buddy Rogers.
But to be seriously, at first I really questioned it. I really, really questioned it because I didn't. Selfishly, I enjoyed having something new every week,
Yep.
but I didn't want to see these people, put their lives at stake just to entertain me. I mean, that sounds foolish because it's professional wrestling and that's what they do every night. However, when you get something like a virus, I guess it's not really them, but it's like getting other people sick in that, right? Like, who knows, their wives, their children.
It's a tough one, right? Because wrestlers are wired differently than other people.
Yeah.
It's go, 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 right? And that's from the top of the promotions down to the very bottom. So they're constantly go, 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 go. And then the thing you have to, and I know the big thing is no one would be punished for sitting out. But as you know, that leaves a spot open for someone else to jump up. And we've seen it. We've seen it
Apollo
on
Crews.
Raw. Yeah. Angel Garza,
Yeah.
Austin Theory.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot of people that they jumped on that. And they wouldn't be in those spots if there wasn't the space for it.
So I got my question, what do you think about it?
I mean, see, in one sense, if the testing is accurate, I mean, I'm always of the opinion that people should be able to make their own decisions. But at the same time, companies should be able to say, no, we're not going to do this for the safety of the employees. So it's like, who should make the decision there? That's where I don't know. If they feel it's safe, yes, but I mean, this is not a normal circumstance.
So, see, where I didn't like it was like the traveling, right? It's not so much of like going there and being like with actually working or at the venue. If you live in Florida, I was fine with that. But it's people
Yes.
that are traveling where that makes me worried, and it makes me worried for their safety. So what I want to ask you though is people like Sami Zayn and Tessa Blanchard, who we will get to in a second because I really want to talk about her situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they should be punished for not showing up?
No,
To
I
sit
mean,
out?
I guess it depends on. I don't think those two are the same circumstance, but at the same time, I have a hard time punishing people if it's a safety issue.
I'm not asking if Matt
But,
Pepper will punish these guys. I'm asking if the company WWE and Impact will punish these guys.
well, define punish.
Not book them. Strip them of their titles. Like, I'm not saying like they're going to find them.
The title thing is hard.
Because take Sami Zayn for instance, right? He won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Hasn't been seen on TV since. We have AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for SmackDown to crown a new champion. We had a whole tournament for it. So what's next for Sami Zayn? Do you think that he's going to get a chance to have, like, they weren't saying that this was for an interim belt. This is the Intercontinental Championship.
Well, they didn't say that for Shawn Michaels when he walked out with the Intercontinental title either.
So you think that this might lead to an IC versus IC ladder match or something like that?
Well, it's an easy out, right?
Yeah.
Because Sami Zayn was tweeting, it seemed like in character, that they shouldn't be going for his title or just something along those lines, right? Because you can always go back to that. Always. Whether the company does it or not, it's another story. But it's hard. Like, it's hard if he won the title during the quarantine era, right? So he won the title and then hasn't appeared on TV. And I don't know the reason for it, the status of him. Like, I don't want to comment on that. I would assume it's based on the current circumstances, but we're not privy to those conversations. So, I mean, no, I don't think he should be punished. But if they need the title to keep the show moving, I mean, it is their title, it is their company. It's not necessarily punishing him. He's still under contract. If they're still planning on using him, they're not punishing him. I mean, I guess it depends how he's booked when he's back. That's more the indicator at that point. No, but to answer your question, no, I don't think he should be punished for that. If that's why he's not going to the shows.
So let's move on to Tessa Blanchard and Impact Wrestling. This past week on Impact Wrestling, Scott D'Amore came out and announced that at Slammiversary, it will be a fatal five-way match with Tessa Blanchard defending the championship against Michael Elgin, Eddie Edwards, Trey, and Ace Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Blanchard, like I said, she has not appeared at any of the close-set television tapings. That is fact. Now, there is rumors that her contract could be up very soon, and there is also a rumor that they asked her to send in footage, like a cut of promo or whatever, and she didn't do that either. So whether those last two definitely are rumors.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to get into that because it's not confirmed, whatever. What I want to ask you, Slammiversary, do you see Tessa Blanchard walking out the Impact World Champion?
No.
Okay. What one of those guys, Ace Austin, Michael Elgin, Eddie Edwards, or Trey, do you see walking out the Impact Champion?
My gut tells me Michael Elgin would be the champion. They seem to be building towards him being the flag bearer of the company.
Yeah.
But it seems, if I'm looking at it logically too, it's almost like they're gearing up for a match, a unification match with Moose at some point. So Michael Elgin is a heel, Moose is a heel. I'm not that one's more a tricky one, unless they're going to keep the title separate, because that actually wouldn't be a bad idea for Moose, because it's more be a trophy title. But I think Michael Elgin, based on the TV I've seen, and he's been destroying people week after week.
Well, on Impact, he beat Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan in a three-way match.
Yes. By the way, that power bomb on Shamrock was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
I props to Shamrock. I mean, he doesn't need to be doing this at his age, but man.
Even like, you know, it still amazes me that he does that dive over the top rope, you know, like, because he doesn't have the height of the Undertaker, right? Undertaker did it. It was like special and all that, but Undertaker's also like what, 6'8"? Shamrock's like 6'1", 6 feet, if that, somewhere around there. So to get that height at his age over that rope, oh my God! I don't care what anyone says about Ken Shamrock. He is a beast. He's a physical specimen.
Next time I talk to Scott, I want to ask him if he can book a catch wrestling match between Shamrock and yourself.
I'll teach Kenny a couple of things. I'll take him to the kiddie den.
Yeah.
So
okay,
wait.
We'll get that sorted out.
So I want to ask you before we move on. So
yes,
Michael Elgin walks out Slammiversary, Impact Champion. What's left for Tessa Blanchard? If her contract's up, where do you see her going? If she stays with Impact Wrestling, what do you see her doing?
Man. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the contract stuff, so I don't really know. But I mean, there's more options now since AEW opened up. I mean, that could be a destination. That's where who is?
Her daddy.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
That's where I see her going. I see her going.
Yeah, I see that. I know there was some talk about her NXT tryouts and stuff before, so I don't know if that. I don't know how factual that stuff is, so I don't know if that is a destination for her. I'm sure they probably would have some interest if she's out there, but I would think AEW, because you're right. Tully's there.
Yeah,
They could
AEW
do,
needs her. They
and
need her.
and yeah, if Tully could manage her.
Yeah, and they need that dominating female name, like not just like because they have like dominating female, like Nyla Rose, but they need somebody that's a name that people can recognize.
I think they need a talent that can work with all the green talent they have on that show.
Yeah,
They need somebody that's kind of a veteran in the game that can elevate the other girls on that show, because we talked about it not too long ago, last week actually, that division really struggles.
yeah.
Actually the last 2 weeks have not been bad on AEW for women's matches, but they're still too long. They're still way too long for the talent they have in those matches. So they need to have like a franchise player, a piece in there, or just a veteran talent that can work with them. They don't have the star power.
So if she stays with Impact Wrestling, what do you see her doing? Do you see her still competing?
I would
men,
think
or
I would think they've built her up as that world beater, that underdog world beating champion. So I would imagine if she did lose the title, I imagine she'd at least have a rematch or some matches on top, because I would think you'd want to go to a rematch. I guess it depends on if it was a screwy finish or something like that. See, in a 5-way, you don't have to pin the champion,
right?
So in theory, if she did lose the title, it doesn't have to be her getting beat, and that would set up a rematch.
Fair enough. Now, do you
maybe her against Trey?
I laugh, but Trey is.
He's excellent.
I really like Trey, so
he's
it's
really
funny,
good.
but I think he's very talented.
He's the underdog in that match. That's the way he said that.
And if I have to like pick a rascal, it would be him. The other two could be Marty Jannetty. Actually, unfortunately, I think Wentz is a Marty Jannetty. But anyway.
And don't be dissing Marty J.
My next question for you, one last question about Tessa Blanchard. Do you think the Tessa Blanchard Impact World Champion experiment was a hit or miss?
I think it's hard to measure it because the timing is awful for her in the company.
Yeah,
with COVID.
We know like she had that feud with Cage. She had that feud with Sami Callihan. Because I'll count that.
I think that Callahan was the big one.
Yeah, but right after that, she had that match with Brian Cage, right? Where she defended the title.
Wasn't that the number one contenders gauntlet? She beat Cage.
Yeah, but I think they had a match as well.
Did they? Okay.
I could be wrong.
I don't recall.
Anyway, what do you think of it? Like, did you buy into it? Do you think it was good? Do you think? I'll tell you what I think.
Go ahead.
I think it was really good in the right step for gender equality. I really think I'm one of those people that I can men versus women, depending on how the match is laid out, I can buy it. And it's not even just for I get so much heat. It's not even because it's men and women. It has to do more with size. It's just like it's saying Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash or Giant, okay? I can buy that match because of the way Rey works. So I enjoy that, right? But if you had like somebody that couldn't work as well as Rey, then like you see this big guy, like I mean, any match you see with Marco Stunt, you're like, okay, come on. There's no way that this guy can beat anyone that's over 6 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
But if they're a good enough worker, they can pull it off. And I think that Tessa Blanchard, she's done that to an extent. There's still times where I'll be watching her and I'll be like, okay, no. But then there's other times where like I really buy into it. It's kind of like China back in the Attitude Era. I really bought into her because she could pick up and body slam these men. And she was as big as them. So I think for gender equality, having a woman on top as champion, I think that's really good. I think because of, like you said, with the COVID era and just the way things were, where she's not present as champion and everything, especially for it being her, because she has an uphill battle. She came in having an uphill battle just because of being female in a male-dominant sport. So not being there, I think, has hurt her. And I think I can't see them doing this again. Maybe with Jordan Grace or even Taya Valkyrie, maybe they might pull the trigger. But for the most part, I don't know. I just don't. I don't think it was successful.
Well, let me just piggyback on the intergender wrestling thing. I'm okay with intergender wrestling when it makes sense. So, and by that I mean I really don't like going to indie shows and there's just a random intergender match on the card. To me, there should be a reason to have that match. If like, let's just say the female wrestler comes out, challenges some guy, he accepts. Okay, I could buy it. I just don't like it as a +1. To me, there should be a reason for a female to want to go against the male, and B, the male wanting to beat up the female, because that's a visual. To be honest, makes some people uncomfortable. I don't think that's an illegitimate thing to say. Now, in this instance, Tessa had a feud with Sami Callihan, and she wanted to literally rip him limb from limb. So I can get behind that. She won the world title, which would be a male title. So her going against male wrestlers at that point makes sense because she's holding the male title. So in that sense, that all makes sense. My only thing with her being the champion, Tessa's a really good, what I would call in-ring worker. Like she's like a carpenter. Like she's solid. She does everything very well. But and she fires up, and like she's got a lot of good attributes that make a really good wrestler. I just don't know, like, to me, if you're going to be beating people twice your size, there needs to be a reason that you can beat people twice your size. If you're just a good in-ring worker, like if you were like a shooter or something, like an amateur wrestler or mixed martial artist or submission whatever the case may be, where you could grind somebody down, I can get behind that. It would make sense.
Well, what if you're someone like Rey Mysterio, who you can use your smallness to your advantage?
Right. He's quick, and he had all the counters, and well, Ray's this. See, I don't like using Ray in that kind of discussion because he's a once in a lifetime talent. Like name another Rey Mysterio. I don't think you can.
Rey Mysterio Sr.
I hate you. But I set myself, and I think there's another Rey Mysterio the third or something. It's like his cousin or something. Anyway, whatever.
There's a whole army of Rey Mysterio.
We're getting off topic. So anyway, Tessa, yeah, I'll agree with you. There's times where, yes, I believe it. I get behind it. I had a hard time with her against Cage because I seen them wrestle in Wrestle Circus before that, and she can do all the moves, and he can base for her, obviously. But again, you're beating a 290-pound guy. Now, in that gauntlet match, he wrestled like 3 other people before that, so you can kind of tell the story that he's already went through the gauntlet. I think, truthfully, it would have been way more successful, but I think there was things working against her, and one of them is definitely the COVID-19, because in all honesty, that basically has taken off TV. She hasn't been able to appear. It's hard. I almost, and it's hard for Impact too, because they're still rebranding and building themselves back up. If it were like, at the height of Impact, late 2000s, and she was there for that, I think that would have been huge. That would have been massive. I still think it's successful. It's just unfortunate the timing of what happened. And to be fair to Tessa too, like, how old is she? She's probably like 26, 27, something like that. So, I mean, she's still growing as a wrestler too.
Yeah.
So to be perfectly fair, so we're not bagging on her either, but I think she could have grown more in that role, but this situation really hurt her. And it's not her.
Yeah. No, it's not her fault. But I would really like to see her in a company like AEW, because, like we were saying, she can help all those women. She would be like a big fish in a small pond, I guess you could say. She would really stick out.
I think you have to remember too, with wrestling, you probably only, in a lot of companies now, your shelf life's pretty short. You can only work the same people so many times, right? So, and it's hard because you want to filter talent in and out and have a good core of talent. But now what I believe is going to happen since AEW started, you're going to see people shift around between WWE, AEW, Impact, MLW, NWA, and it's good for the talent.
And it's good for the fans, if you ask me.
Yeah, because you get different matches and stuff. Because it's hard to, like, for Tessa, right? Like, so she's the champion. Impact would have to keep constantly bringing in new people for her to work with.
Yeah.
And there's not like a ton of, like, I mean, right now there's people on the market, but regularly there's not like a ton of, hey, main event level talent people you can bring in. So it's tough. And I say that not knowing what they have in store.
Yeah.
So they could bring in a few names, and it freshens that whole thing up too.
Especially with them teasing with whoever they're going to bring in at Slammiversary.
Mm-hmm.
I really think they need a solid face, a guy that they can really get behind, because we were just talking, like, Michael Elgin, Moose. Who's a solid face that they have right now? Like, the only person I could think of that is like maybe Sami Callihan, but he's kind of a tweener, or Willie Mack.
Shamrock.
Yeah, but they needed someone young, or not really young, but someone.
I think the thing, Impact has the same problem every company has. Every company has the exact same problem, and they all want it, and hardly anyone can get it, is that next big mainstream star.
Yeah.
Because that's what will make a company pop. Somebody that can cross over and people want to watch just for that person. and every company wants it. WWE's been the only company for years that have been able to manufacture them, and they're in the process of doing that, trying to find that star again. Now, that being said, if there's a big mid-level to high-level name that's available that you can bring in that person's fans will follow them to the promotion, you want to jump on that as fast as you can. Obviously, the one I would say right now is Rusev. Any company would want to take him right now.
Yeah.
Because that guy was over, and probably on the peak of breaking out. I mean, he was stuck in the system, but to me, he's somebody you could build a whole division around, company around. So those are the names you want. And Impact, it's not exclusive to any company. They all want that mainstream star. It's needle in a haystack finding them.
Speaking of people coming in, Deonna
Purrazzo.
Ooh, Deonna Purrazzo made her debut on Impact at the end of Jordynne Grace's match with Kaya Valkyrie, where Grace picked up the victory. Deonna Purrazzo came out and gave Jordynne Grace an armbar and basically made her tap out. Now, they really made her look really good. What are your thoughts on her? I don't know too much about Deonna Purrazzo.
Well, I had her on a list of topics of when we were starting this podcast, one of our first episodes, because I had watched NXT. I've seen her before. I had watched NXT that week, and she had wrestled. I forget who she wrestled. I think it was Shotzi Blackheart or somebody. And she has a really dirty technical style, like that nasty grinding style. And I was just like, wow. Like I wanted to bring that up, but we didn't have enough time one week. And I'm like, this is really somebody who's different, like from like the normal wrestler, especially female wrestler. She has been all over the world too. For a while, she was bouncing between NXT, ROH. She was like on every show for a while. And she had good showings in the Mae Young Classic. I had never really heard her speak until they ran the promos for her on Impact. I think she did a really good job there. In all honesty, I will say this 100%. She's probably the best technical worker on that show, and that's not to disparage any of the other talent. I just think she's that good.
Wow.
She is that good. To me, she's on another level. They just couldn't find anything for her in NXT. Well, in all honesty, I don't think it was her time yet on NXT. That roster's stacked. She would have been there, I'm sure. But I will tell you 100%. I think she's probably. I would put her up there with Tessa and Taya on that show.
Wow, that speaks volumes.
I think she's that good. And like I said, she's got that dirty technical style. She trained with Rip Rogers, so she's that old school style worker. So I think, I don't know if she came out of the OVW system, but she's in that she came out of that kind of camp. So, but she's good. She's been everywhere. I think that's probably one of the best signings Impact could have made. That's a signing, again, AEW really missed out on, because that's another female they should have got for that show. But that's Impact's gain, and excellent debut.
I'll tell you a signing that AEW didn't miss out on, and that is FTR. And we got to see them actually in ring this past week on Dynamite. They were in a match with the Butcher and the Blade. Matt, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, last time we talked, I said they are the best working tag team in pro wrestling. 100%. That was a good match. I wasn't quite expecting that kind of match. They were coming off as baby faces.
Well, they are baby faces.
I don't know, man. to me, they came when they debuted, they came out pretty heelish to me, and came out heelish in that promo last week too. I mean, they're easy to like, so I mean, whatever.
What
But
did you think of their entrance with the car? They kept the car this week, or the truck.
I don't get the truck.
I don't like it.
I don't get the truck.
What, they drive around in their gear?
I mean, are they? I know they're like North Kakalaki guys, like probably pickup trucks and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do they need the truck? I don't get it. I don't get why they need the truck. They're signed by AEW. We know that. Last week they had a sit down interview with Tony Schiavone, so it's not like they're outsiders. So, okay, yeah, Eddie Guerrero used a lowrider, but they played it in. He came from the entranceway. You know, these guys are coming from who knows where, driving around in their gear. They have to get gas. They're going to be in their underwear getting gas.
You've done that.
You laugh like a chimp. Anyway, I really enjoyed the match. It was very competitive. I really liked the Butcher and the Blade. I mean,
I don't know. The only thing with that match, I think I almost wish it was more one-sided, where FTR was just more dominant. To me, it was more. They're working team, so they can get away with it. So I'm not hating on it. I just wish it was a little more dominant. Give a little less to Butcher and Blade. I'm not knocking those guys, but I just think FTR is so far ahead of them that it should have just been. They need to come out dominant. I gotta ask you though, what did you think of the Young Bucks coming out after the match?
Oh my God, what was that? I thought that was terrible because they came out and then they're like, "Oh, let's us introduce ourselves properly." You know, I'm Nick and this is Matt, and we've been carrying professional wrestling for a decade and a half. Well, okay. I like the Young Bucks. Okay. Overall, I like the Young Bucks. But that was terrible. And I really didn't like that the Butcher came in and attacked like just before FTR was about to say something, because that match is done. I don't want to see those guys. They beat them. They're gone. Get them out of here. You know, I don't need to be reminded that you know, right now I'm supposed to be focusing on Young Bucks and FTR. And that was my biggest problem with it. It wasn't even so much of the promo, although like Young Bucks shouldn't be cutting promos. And the other thing I'm kind of getting sick of in wrestling is the whole, what does FTR stand for? And it stands for, you know, something different every single time.
Well, that's just like CM Punk.
Oh, let's not talk about him this week.
No, but the CM always stood for something else.
Yeah,
that's the point I was making.
Like, forget the ropes, or you know.
No, that promo was it was not good. It was terrible. And I agree that both those guys and Omega should never even touch a microphone.
Well, I shouldn't even touch a mic, so I'm not one to talk.
Yeah, but you're not in the ring. You know, I would like to see that, but you're not in the ring cutting promos. But I mean, those guys are not good on the mic. They're not believable. I'm not gonna rag on them in the ring or anything like that. I'll hold my judgment for when this eventual match happens. But yeah, this angle, I don't know. I don't know. It's got more internet buzz than it does television buzz.
I feel they could have done a way better job of introducing FTR and then having them feud with the Bucks. The whole saving them a mutual respect thing. I always hate the mutual respect thing in wrestling unless it really makes sense, but we see it way too often.
I think FTR has done a better job promoting themselves on social media than the company has done promoting them.
Fair enough.
I just, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I know they just got there, but man, I don't know. The Young Bucks segment was just, oh my God, it was brutal.
Oh, I forgot because I didn't even finish my thought on the segment because
Hmm.
I didn't even go through the whole segment because that wasn't it. Yeah, Butcher came in and attacked them. Then we had Kenny Omega and
Oh yeah, Hangman Page.
Hangman Page come out. Then we had who was it?
Private Party? Was it Private
No, it
Party?
wasn't Private Party. It was
Best Friends?
no, it wasn't Best Friends. It was the heel team
Oh,
there of Kip Sabian and
oh, Jimmy Havoc.
Jimmy
Damn it.
Havoc. Yeah. Like what do they all these people have to do? Is it supposed to be like your whole tag team division or something? Like I did not understand why these other teams. I don't care about these other teams. I want to see Young Bucks and FTR. Like why are all these other things and all these other obstacles getting in the way? This is what's killing it. It's
It's
terrible.
I mean, well, look who's booking the tag division. Enough said.
I don't even know who's booking the tag division.
The Young Bucks.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah. So, I don't know. There's too much moving parts. Again, I don't know
Keep it simple.
how many times can we say it? Look at Cody's programs. Look at those guys' programs. Cody keeps it simple. Heat.
Yeah, and it works. It works. Like,
right?
and Cody's been probably one of the best parts of the show since its inception. On Dynamite, he had a great match with Mark
Quinn.
Fantastic match. And I like that what he's doing is he's getting these people that you wouldn't see in a title picture normally. Mark Quinn, Jungle Boy. Next week it's who is it next week? They had the contender match on Dynamite. I can't remember. I watched it this morning. I already forgot.
I don't remember next week. I know it's him and Hagar at Fighter Fest. But I don't know about next week.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. Anyway, but he's been having these excellent matches with, it's kind of like what John Cena did, but I've been enjoying it. I like it. You're getting to see lights on these guys.
This is what I don't understand is, to me, the appeal with AEW for the internet fans was you have those 5 guys all in the same company starting a promotion. That's what the buzz was for that company, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Omega was this apparent world-class wrestler in Japan. He hasn't even been remotely booked like that in AEW.
No.
Young Bucks were this world-class tag team, haven't remotely been booked like that in AEW. Shouldn't you protect the big stars, build them up? I know you're gonna do the whole they run the company thing. Who cares? Then you have heat from the other side.
Well, that's what it is. They run the company, so they didn't want to make anyone point at them and be like, you run the company, so that's why you're getting over, or you're putting yourselves over. But in the meantime, they downgraded their stock by doing so.
Who cares?
Who cares about them downgrading their stock?
How much money is in Triple H's bank account?
Yeah.
Who cares? If you're over, you're over.
Yeah, but my point being is that they worried so much about that, like about, putting them over all these people and whatever. They didn't want their fan base being like, but the point being is that they buried themselves in doing so, which is even worse because Kenny Omega, who was headlining Tokyo Dome a couple years ago, who really honestly cares? obviously people are going to be, oh, I care about Kenny Omega. Yeah, well, what great match has he had recently? Like
Yeah.
what match can you point? It just doesn't tell a story. His matches don't tell a story. He has people carrying him through most of it. And I'm not here to bash Kenny Omega by any means. I think he's a fantastic athlete, but like he's a tag team champion right now where he should be on top of the card.
If you're gonna look at him and how he was booked in Japan, that's where most of his fan base comes from. Right or wrong?
Right.
Right. So the fans on Twitter, that includes Uncle Dave, will promote him like crazy with how good he is. Right or wrong?
Right. Correct.
That is most of the fan base.
Yeah.
I would say that internet crowd is probably most of the fan base for AEW.
Yeah.
Book him like the fans see him.
Yeah.
I don't have to like him, and I don't care because I don't think he's as great as he's been promoted either. But if I was running a company, I don't care if I like their work or not. If they draw in any way, they're on the card.
Yeah,
It's that
exactly.
simple.
It's business. At the end of the day, wrestling's all about business. People that draw the money, you're going to put it on your card. You're going to promote. It's about promoting. It's like a concert. You're not going to put, this band that no one knows about at the top, and then put your headliner like Green Day, at the bottom.
Sure.
I don't know.
I
don't know anything about concert promoting.
But I mean, do you think Vince McMahon in the 80s would have been like, Hogan, you're a real pain to deal with. I'm just gonna slide. We're just gonna realign you down the card because, whatever. Or Hulk is like, I think I shouldn't be the champion for now. I'm over, but someone else should have. No.
Well, here's a better
Draw.
here's a better thing. Shawn Michaels in 1996.
It's not a good argument.
You're telling me that he wasn't a pain in 1996? You're telling me that?
Yeah, but I don't think
he was also world champion.
He didn't draw either, but that's a whole different topic. I will tell you, like, conclusively, right? AEW today crowds in 2019, 2020 bigger than WWF crowds in 1996.
Yeah.
Right or wrong? Right or wrong?
Right. AEW crowds, yeah.
It's not the same business either. Back then, it was.
Yeah, you can't compare it. You can't compare it, right?
It's not. I mean, when Hogan was in the 80s, people came to the show to watch Hogan. Right? He was the draw.
Yeah.
Late 90s, Austin and Rock, that were the draw.
But here's the thing, though. This is unfair to Shawn Michaels because he was coming off of Kevin Nash's title run.
Which was even worse.
Bret Hart was a transitional champion, whether you like it or not, during that period.
96?
95, 96, yeah.
Yeah.
He was transitional. Diesel dropped the belt to him, and then he turned around and dropped it to Shawn.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
I love Bret Hart, but that's what role he was playing at that time. So when you look at who the real champion was for a lengthy period of time, it was Diesel in 95.
Yes.
And when you look at before him, unfortunately, it was Bret Hart. Right?
So now, let me just jump in there, though. It's not necessarily. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's not necessarily those guys' fault either. The business was not
exactly
good
yeah.
either.
Like, I'm not blaming Kevin Nash here for dismal drawing, but my point being is that Shawn Michaels was champion in 97, throughout most of 97.
96.
96, and then its business at the end of 96 started turning around. It started gaining momentum, and in 97, Game
Not
over.
not because Sean though. I would
It's
say
because of Austin.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Because of the
So
rise of Stone Cold.
you started to see him come, and he was the draw. Anyway, if they would, and Austin had probs too later, right? He walked out, things like that. I mean, they still would give
They
him.
still booked him.
Yes,
They still brought
booked
him back. Ultimate Warrior. They brought him back. Hulk Hogan. They brought him back. Why? Because they could draw. And it's about business. It wasn't about this guy f***ed me over or screwed me over. It was about business.
But they didn't just a Warrior, for example. They booked him strong when he came back, right?
Yeah.
They didn't just say, there wasn't just, oh, we don't want people to think that Warrior's selfish, and we're gonna have him do some jobs and like
jobs to TL Hopper.
Because here's the thing, right? And this is what drives me nuts in pro wrestling with the fans. Absolutely. And some people in the business, when they say, oh, wins and losses don't matter. That is the biggest crock, and I'm going to tell you why that's a crock. They matter when you're building a star.
Yeah.
100%. That rise, if you don't win more than you lose, guess what? People lose faith in that person. It's happened
Name somebody that got a championship and that had a good run and everything on a losing streak.
Maybe Jinder Mahal, but but that's not a good example because he didn't set the world on fire either. And that's not disrespect to him, but they took a guy that was, jobbing, not doing too good. But yeah, here's the thing. If you're Roman Reigns today, you can lose matches because it doesn't matter. You're already over.
Yeah.
Right? But when he was like that beast coming out of the Shield and he's dominating guy, that's his build. And the other thing too, losses matter too. How you lose, how you win and how you lose is just as important as winning and losing. And a good example is that, and we'll talk about the match one day, is Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith in Wembley Stadium. And I never knew why when I was the biggest Bulldog fan, after that I became a Bret fan, and he explained it. It was the sympathy with how he lost.
Yeah.
He fought so hard, he got caught in a counter. They milked the thing at the end. He endorsed Davey as the champion, and then people end up feeling bad for him.
Psychology.
Right. And they don't in AEW, and I don't know. They have so many talent. They have so many legendary people there that I wish were the ones that were running the show, because they would know how to get. Psychology is huge.
And that's the thing. Like, you don't see a lot of people, like, you don't feel sorry for anyone. There's no one out there, like Dusty Rhodes in the 80s. He would let himself get beat down. And you felt sorry for him because the camera would show him. He would be laying on the mat, reaching out to the people at home, in agony and pain. And no one was coming down and helping him, right there.
Yep.
But he spoke to you at home. Like, it was a psychology. So you're like, oh man, somebody help him. Someone come out, help him. Someone, where is everyone? Right? Does he,
Yep.
And you see him get beat down by the Four Horsemen unfairly, 4-on-1. 5 if you want to count AJ or JJ.
So you're right. And one thing I noticed on AEW, they did it last night, but most of the time they don't do it. When a babyface is getting beat down in the ring, no one jumps in to save him.
Yeah.
It's simple. Like, there's so many simple things. When you overcomplicate wrestling, it doesn't make sense. Like, you need these intricate storylines, and like, you can do some of that, but it's pretty funny when you want to get overly intellectual on like some of this stuff, really the basic stuff is in the ring. And then you should, like, again, Cody Rhodes keeps it, it's very, very simple and it works. And for those guys to not be a little more selfish, build them up, they would get guys way more over if they were more prominent on that show.
That's why if I was booking, or like if we're playing, I was booking my own wrestling show, my psychology, a 10-year-old would have to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That way you're speaking to the mass, right? I'm 35 years old. I've been watching wrestling for at least 30 years. I've seen everything. So of course I'm going to be cynical. Oh yeah, I've seen this a million times before. But that's fine, because you know what? My 10-year-old son hasn't. And you're making a wrestling fan out of him. You got me as a wrestling fan, but you're making a wrestling fan out of him. But when he doesn't understand what's going on the screen, or even better yet with WWE, sometimes he thinks it's stupid.
Yeah.
He'd rather go play Minecraft. Screw wrestling.
Yep.
That's why, like with AEW, one of their mistakes, in my opinion, is I understand they want to get an audience that's in my age range, but you still need to keep those people for the kids. You need to, because those are your next generation. That's your company in 10 years. It's like planting a plant. You can't have one tree giving you all the apples, and then once that tree's done, you have nothing. But if you start planting another apple tree in the meantime, you'll have apples later on. That's why. That's why Darby Allin. They should be. Why aren't they selling like half masks in that?
It's like companies that produce cigarettes. You hook them young and you hook them good.
Oh my God. All right. Well, speaking of hooks, let's preview Backlash. The greatest. Here's the greatest hook ever. The greatest professional wrestling match ever.
Yep. It's the only match I really want to talk about.
Well, we'll quickly run down the card.
Okay.
And talk. Okay. So, Apollo Crews versus Andrade for the United States Heavyweight Championship. I'm looking forward to this. On Raw, I really liked Apollo Crews. I really enjoyed, like, he has new theme music. He kind of has like a new attitude about himself. He's carrying himself a little different. I'm digging it. I'm kind of glad that Kevin Owens didn't win the match, because I want to see a good, like, Apollo Crews, a good heel versus face match for his first kind of big match.
Well,
right?
I think this is a big match for Apollo.
Yeah.
Because this is, I'm the champion. I need to prove that I can carry this, and that's gonna be the key in this match.
And I really think he has the talent to do so. And Andrade's, you know what? Can we talk for a minute about how amazing Andrade really is?
Oh yeah.
Like that guy,
he's excellent.
I don't think he gets enough credit.
No, you could put him anywhere on the card. I think he needs to go higher on the card.
Yeah, I hope after this maybe we'll see that and get like more of a little bit of a push, or see him work with, like, bigger name talent, because he's amazing. So the next we have new women's tag team champions Sasha and Bayley versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Iconics.
That's an interesting one, because they just brought the Iconics back.
Yeah.
And they've been booked pretty strong since they came back.
I loved it since they came back. Like last week we were talking about Billie Kay.
Yep.
And I was just putting her over. And
I like Sasha and Bayley with titles, because it just dumps heat on them.
Yeah.
And they're heat magnets, and they play it up. And they play it up on social media too.
That's why I see them winning this match, and their celebratory win. Every time they win, it should be like an over-exaggerated where they lay on the mat crying.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I think they should go. So next we have Jeff Hardy and Sheamus.
I don't even know where to go with that one. I think.
So here's. Do you see Jeff Hardy getting his win here, and then, or do you see Sheamus getting the win and then expanding the storyline?
It's weird because I would think you'd want to keep going with Sheamus, but at the same time, you've built this storyline to make Jeff look sympathetic.
Yeah.
Because clearly, this whole thing, he's being set up. So, man, I don't know. I think you go with Sheamus and then you keep it going. I think something happens in the match, or
I say Jeff wins, and then that's the end of that. Because if they drag it on, it might be more in bad taste. If Jeff wins here, you have his sympathy. He gets the win, and you can move him up into another spot. Because I really think they're trying to push him for main event status.
Well, this is WWE, so that storyline's not done.
All right, next we have Asuka versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. I can't see them taking the belt off Asuka.
No.
That's a no-brainer.
But I think Asuka can pull a good match out of Nia.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably going to see it at least look snug.
Yeah.
They're building it up that way too, where Nia is just destroying people, and obviously you have the injury issues that happen. So I have a feeling that I'm interested in that just because of the backstory. So I think that I think this might be a sleeper match.
I agree with you. One spot I'm hoping that we see is Nia. He's throwing Asuka into the steps.
Yeah.
And Kairi Sane with an eye patch or something comes down. Well, they won't do the eye angle, but Kairi Sane maybe it makes an appearance.
Oh, you know what?
Prevents her from doing so.
Her with an eye patch would be awesome.
Yeah, because she's a pirate.
Yes.
But they're doing the thing with Rey Mysterio too, so I
know,
can't see them doing both, which is crazy because, I mean, why not? But then again, it's professional wrestling where if you can't have two people with the same gimmick on the same show, or God forbid. Yep. Anyway, Braun Strowman versus The Miz and John Morrison in a handicap match for the Universal Championship.
We can just skip that.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. What did you think of the what was it? The Punk stuff from SmackDown.
The which stuff?
Punked, where John Morrison and The Miz, they were trying to be. Remember the show on MTV Punked with Ashton Kutcher?
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. See it. So.
Okay, so they were like playing pranks on Braun Strowman throughout the whole night. They were like in the production truck, and they tried to put green slime on him, but it went on Gila Braxton, and
this is lame.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits with John Morrison and The Miz's character because they're kind of like that Hollywood kind of douchebaggery.
It's too bad. I look at Morrison, he still looks like a star, and it's just, I don't know not really doing. To me, he's not being used how I would like to see him.
I know you definitely can't put him beside a bigger star like The Miz because it just.
Oh God, no, but really, who does the team benefit more, Morrison or The Miz?
I would say Morrison.
I don't think so.
Because for your WWE audience, you might not know who John Morrison was before becoming a tag team with The Miz.
I think that would fade pretty quickly, especially when you've seen him in that ladder match at WrestleMania. Like, come on, like.
Well, yeah, it'll probably fade, like, you know it. But to introduce him or reintroduce him into the WWE universe, you need to. It's a good way. You can't just bring him back. He'll get lost in the shuffle just like a lot of other guys do.
Well, I guess it, again, depends where you slot him. But The Miz, and I've said this so many times, not on the show, but he needs somebody to play off of.
Yeah, I agree.
The way he stays over.
My favorite time of The Miz was when he had Alex Riley as a heater.
Yeah, that wasn't very good, but
Moving on.
That run was terrible.
Moving on. He got the championship from that run.
Yeah,
The
forgettable.
championship. Champion Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Matt, who do you have? Go.
True.
Yeah.
I like the build though. I like that Lashley's doing the full Nelson. They're actually like building him, like they should have did like 2 years ago. But I think they're getting him where he needs to be. The MVP pairing I think's been really good for him. Really good.
For sure. And I don't see this ending, to be honest.
My only thing with Drew, and I'm kind of warming up to it. I just almost felt does every champion have to be like a wise,
my
cracking,
God,
like giddy, humorous, like I can kind of get it, but I mean to me his appeal was not that.
They did the exact same thing with Roman Reigns a couple years ago.
Yes.
Like that's what they do. They don't leave well enough alone. If you a lot of times you'll have like a guy like Drew McIntyre who's like he's dark and he's mysterious kind of, Now let's talk Claymore, like
yeah, I don't like that. I know, but it's hard, man, because I like Drew. I think he's a real talent, but I don't know. But now it's funny. It's funny because they've been posting videos of his funniest moments, and I'm like, okay, I could kind of see that that's probably his personality, but at the same time, that's not what got him over.
No, use what brought you to the dance.
Yep.
And yeah, I agree. I was watching Raw, and I was just like, no, this is like he's kind of doing comedy and telling jokes and all this other stuff. I don't want that. It reminds me so much of Roman Reigns and why he almost failed.
What do I always say? Too much ha ha. I can do without all ha ha. They can wrestling. There's too much. We gotta it's like we have to pump it in on every show. It doesn't even matter the company. It's like, just to segue, I had this discussion with somebody on Facebook last week. Posted that Tully Blanchard promo from AEW, and I said I would love more of this and less of the comedy. And then somebody was trying to justify it and like, oh well, I mean, the Tully joke in that match is what made this promo, and I'm like, you could have done the promo without the joke because he's losing all the time. I said, and the Tully underwear thing is, I mean, come on, like who's gonna wear Tully Blanchard underwear? Like seriously. Anyway, the response, yeah, slingshot suplex.
Brain buster.
Anyway,
the crotch.
So anyway, the response to me was, somebody said to me, well, all forms of entertainment need comedy. And I said, okay, I'll give you that, but bad comedy is still bad comedy. And that's how I always look at wrestling.
Yeah.
There's very few people in wrestling that are actually funny in front of the live crowd or on a camera.
You know what? It's like, it's why I like Colt. One of the many reasons why I like Colt Cabana so much, because he's funny. He does all these comedy spots and everything. However, like last week and even this week on AEW, we saw more serious Colt Cabana.
Because that was something I had down too.
Serious. Yeah. When he needs to be serious, he's serious. He doesn't force feed the comedy through it. And that is what I like. That's what I appreciate. It's all good to have ha-ha in that because it's fun. But when you need to be serious, be serious. It's the reason why he was the NWA champion.
Well, that was kind of a funny error, but that's a whole other conversation. There was no one watching then.
Whatever. I'm wearing his NWA Colt Cabana shirt. Okay.
Hey, here's the thing. The match with Jericho last week, I thought was excellent.
Yeah.
Right? This match this week, last night was pretty good. There was a little more comedy than last week. But
he was going up against Sammy Guevara, who's not on the same
Well,
level as the Chris
I'm
Jericho.
just saying in the beginning of the match there was a little bit, and then it stopped, and then it was like business, right? So that I can deal with.
And because you
So
see him be serious, so like when he walked into the Dark Order's locker room, you saw Colt Cabana like with a serious face, right? And this is a guy that usually smiles, haha, or whatever. So you're like, oh man, like what's going through his mind right now?
well, that's because he knows this angle's gonna suck.
I've been enjoying it.
No,
I like the
it's gonna suck.
recruiting of Colt Cabana with the Dark Order.
Nothing with Dark Order's been good, man. Come on, it's been terrible.
I like Brody Lee, so
That his promos are been so bad, especially that one he cut a few weeks ago. It was probably one of the worst promos I ever heard, and I
all
like him
right.
too.
Let's move on because we're supposed to be talking about Backlash WWE.
I know.
Greatest wrestling match ever. Edge versus Randy Orton. Matt, who do you have and go?
Well, Edge won the last match, right?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Orton.
I agree with you because I could see them dragging this out to SummerSlam.
Okay. Let's talk about the real fun part of this. The tagline for the match. Give me your thoughts, because I have a really good one that I picked up from somewhere.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward. Yeah. Okay. When you first hear about it, you kind of laugh it off, shrug. Greatest wrestling match? Yeah, sure, whatever. But I think it's kind of clever marketing because it's so over the top and so ridiculous that has people talking about it. So, is it bad that is it wrong that they did this? No, I think it's actually kind of smart, whether they did it on purpose or not, because in a roundabout way, we wouldn't be talking about this as much if it was just any other rematch at Backlash. I agree. And the way that they're promoting it, we're talking about it.
So the best line I've heard about this match was actually on Keeping It 100 with Conan. So Disco's theory on this was when they had when they had the WrestleMania match. I know, you're funny. So when they had the WrestleMania match, all the analysts, all the newsletter guys said that was the most boring WrestleMania match of all time. So he thought by naming it the greatest wrestling match of all time, he's trolling them, or they're trolling the dirt sheets for them just to crap on it. Because it's funny, like if you listen to any of the podcasts, they're almost like insulted. Like it's like, oh my god, like how can you? And it's like it's working.
Yeah,
it's 100% working
because their game worked.
Yeah,
their game worked.
Edge said it the best. He said it's a subjective term. Like what really is the greatest match? And in my opinion, whatever you think the greatest of anything is usually what your favorite is.
Yeah.
Right? Because you would have a favorite wrestling match, I would have a favorite wrestling match. We view them differently.
Exactly. That's that's a whole thing of professional wrestling. It's subjective.
Yes.
We agree on a lot of things, but a lot of times we don't agree on things.
You're right. This is a marketing.
Yeah.
This is genius marketing, in my opinion, because people are talking about it.
Exactly.
And guess what? When the match is going on, you know what the hashtag's going to be.
Greatest match ever.
Greatest wrestling match ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to trend like crazy. Whether it's good or not, it's going to trend like crazy. It doesn't really matter.
Yep.
And I anticipate it will actually be good because I think they already recorded it.
Can I tell you what I think would happen, or what I like to see happen? Christian turn heel on Edge. Cost him the match. After the promo from Monday, where he's kind of he was
Calling
kind
him
of they were kind of teasing it in a way, you know, and then he got Edge fired up, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's the Edge that I wanted." I like to see. I thought Christian was excellent on Monday. I thought he did a fantastic job.
Well, I've said this to you before. That's a guy I never understood why they didn't utilize as a manager or somebody's mouthpiece.
Yeah.
So to close that, I am really looking forward to it because they built it. The build outside of the tagline's been very good. The tagline just adds to it.
Yeah, agree. And with that being said, thank you for joining us on another edition of the Three Falls Podcast.
The greatest wrestling podcast of all time.
Of all time. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Three Falls Podcast. And Matt, getting excited here. Matt, tell us, where can you listen to our podcast?
You can listen to it on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, pretty well anywhere you can get your podcast.
Google Podcast as well. You missed
Play
one.
Music and
Or
Google
Fire.
Podcast.
I'm Derek. I'll be here next week. Matt might not be. I might get him the push away.
You have to edit yourself.
Anyway, have a good week, everyone. See you next week.
Peace.